Hey guys, I'm going to explain about Hibernate HQL. Hibernate HQL is a technique which is used for CAD operation from DB. So in this lecture I will explain about how to fetch all entity record from DB, how to fetch one field record of entity from DB, how to fetch more than one field record from DB, data binding, and then pagination concept. Then I will explain about update delete the record from database using HQL. So let's move in Eclipse. So here are the Eclipse is there. Here I wrote few of the code because I need to save some time. So what code I wrote, I have this session factory instance, then I open session object, then transaction. So here we are going to focus on HQL, but we need to share some important information about HQL because we need to remember while writing the HQL query in company, it's real-time programming. Suppose you want to fetch the entire employee record from DB using HQL and using the normal SQL query. Once we are not using the normal SQL query for JDBC, then how we are going to write it? Select asterisk from table name. So this employee is here, table name, we need to remember this. In same query for HQL, how we are going to write it? From employee. So the employee here is the object name, entity name. So here we are have table name, here is the entity name. Suppose we are going to fetch one record from normal SQL, then we are writing like that, and select, we are going to fetch this same first name from DB using Hibernate HQL. Then how we are going to do it? So select first name from employee, but this first name in normal SQL, it's a table column name, but the first name is here, it's a entity field name. So make sure you are remembering those difference, otherwise you will do mistakes while writing the real-time code. So the first name in normal SQL, it's a table column name, but in our HQL it's a entity field name. And in normal SQL the employee is here, table name is here is, but in HQL it's a entity name, it's a object name. So make sure that we are going to remember this, otherwise while writing a HQL query in real-time programming we will do the mistakes. So now we are going to use the HQL. So how we are going to use the HQL? Like a step second is saying get the query object. So how we are going to get it? Session dot create query, and it's going to expect HQL. We need to supply that HQL, and after that it's going to return me query object. So query query. Once we got that query object, we call the list function of that. It going to return me the list of entire record. So we need to receive this list is equal to, we can say query dot list. So we'll give this a meaningful name like emp list. Now we need to write a code for display, so we can use that for each loop. So that for each loop we can say emp obj. Here we are going to say syso, and then we are going to say display this one. We can write one more SOP which is going to help us to understand syso, like record size बराबर emp list dot size. So if we are going to run this, it's going to return the entire employee record, and first we'll get the employee record size so we can know how many record in DB and how many we are going to receive it. So let's run that code. Here we are saying that record size is 8 and we are getting the 8 record. The 8 record we are receiving from DB because in DB we have that 8 record. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So suppose our requirement is, so like this is the requirement to fetch the entire employee record. Suppose our requirement is to fetch one record, one field of entity from DB, then how we are going to fetch it? Like select first name from employee. So like here one more thing I need to show you earlier, then we need to move here. We are receiving that entire employee record. Here we can use the concept of generic. We are going to receive the employee record, so we can say that generic of the list of employee. Here we can typecast it to list of employee, and if you run that same code, so it's going to return the same thing. So it's a recommended we always use type safety, because what record we want to fetch it, we need to know about that. So we can write the code like that, and here I can change it, but I'm using the object, so as per demo purpose we are not going to change to like employee emp, but we need to change it. So like it is the code to fetch the whole employee record, but suppose our requirement to fetch one field of a employee entity, then how to do this? So like change that code, select first name from employee, HQL query got changed. Now we need to change here. Here we are not going to fetch the entire employee record, we are going to fetch one field of that entity, so we need to change it here. So here I'm changing the string. The reason is whatever field we are going to fetch it, the data type of the field is string, and then there is no changes required because here we are using object, so there is no matter it's a employee or it's a string, that object is going to handle everything. So if you run that same code, we are going to get the whole record, but that whole record is going to return only the first name for like entire entity. So even still the size is 8, but we are going to receive that only first name. So suppose our requirement is like we need to get more than one field, then how we are going to handle this? So like last name from employee. So here we are seeing we are fetching two field, so it's not going to return the list of string, it's going to return the list of object array. So we need to change the code immediately. Object, and same thing we need to typecast here also. And then there is a change is required here, it's going to return the object. We need to do some cosmetic here, so we can display the output like first name बराबर emp it's a 0 because that first name. Here we can append one more, so like last name is equal to emp1. So it's going to give that first name and last name of the entity. So let's run that code. So we are seeing that we get that first name, last name, which we are going to receive from DB. Like the first name is Dibya and last name is Srivastav. Like first name is Raju, last name is Sinha. So in SQL we can check it. So like first name is Dibya, Srivastav, then Raju, then Sinha. So we are receiving the record like that. One more thing we need to specify here, how we can use parameter binding. So like we need to change that code. Here we are going to use positional placeholder. So positional placeholder is like after getting the query object, we need to supply that uh, positional place value here. So like query dot set long. The reason using is long because our id data type is long. So here positional value is 1, and here we can supply hardcode value like this one. So it's going to return the employee. It's not going to return that here we are going to the related changes whatever is required. Emp object. So code changes is done, but here whatever we pass as a 5, these things we can replace like that long you like emp id is equal to 5. We can use here 5. So if you run that code, we'll get only single record of employee 5. So size of the record is 1 and we'll get the record of that. Here one more thing we can specify, like if we have more than one positional placeholder, then how we are going to deal with this. So the SQL I already written. Now the ID, and for the first name we are going to say positional placeholder. So we need to supply those information from here. So how we are going to supply it? For the first position we supplied. For the second position it's a string because that first name data type is string. So like here we need to supply what value we want to supply. So like I supplied like Manish. If you run that code, then again we are going to receive that same record. So we can see that positional placeholder how we are going to taking care. Positional placeholder, so for the position 0 we specified employee ID, and for the position 1 we are going to supply that like that. We will use the same concept in named placeholder. So how we are going to use the named placeholder, that one I can also look at. We can bind the data through name only. So how we are going to bind it, let's look it. So like here we are using named, it's not a position, so we need to supply that name here. We'll see about and whatever first name we have here, those things we can supply here. If we see like set long is expecting two things. First is going to say position, what we are specifying through number like 0 start with 0, and then the like what information you want to supply. And then second, for the same long we have like is named placeholder, so we can supply that name. So one more thing we need to remember here, here is the id is a field name of entity, here the first name is field name of entity, but here the user id, it's up to us. Whatever we are writing here, same thing we need to set as a named placeholder. So we need to remember this concept, because while writing the HQL query in a real-time programming, we are doing a mistake. So we need to remember this. Make sure it's up to us only. XYZ, if you can write like XYZ, so like XYZ, so the same XYZ you need to write like here. So make sure if I run that code, we'll get the same record. So like the intention is saying like that we need to follow the same thing, then we are not going to do the mistakes in our real-time programming. HQL is very easy concept. So in this lecture till here only. Going forward in the second lecture, it's related to HQL. What I'm going to explain about the navigation, we'll explain about the update record, we'll explain about a delete record. Insert record is not very recommended for HQL, because we have some limitation. We can't specify explicit values for the insert query. That's it, not recommended. So in this lecture, these are the things. Thank you so much.